Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the RRTV Rallycross Super Series. We're coming to you from Daytona once again this week for round 5, and it's a Daytona short. But before we get into it, your commentary team tonight is myself, Bernie Weemers, and Brock Cadet. Welcome Brock, it's another night of great Rallycross action.
Yeah, so we've seen over the last few weeks, Bernie, that the Rallycross has really brought some exciting times, great battling and a few accidents. So tonight I'm sure will be no different. And we're back at Daytona short. I think we came here in round 1. So it'll be interesting to see if the guys have picked up any setup tricks or any driving style tricks and see what they bring to the table tonight, Bernie.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. As always, folks, the layout once again changes tonight, and that's mainly because we only have 15 drivers turning up to compete tonight due to other commitments. And so the way it's going to run is we're going to have 2 heats running in parallel. So we're broadcasting one of those heats. All drivers go through. There's no knockout. Then what we're going to do is have a break. We're going to come back and we're going to do another 2 set of heats. They're going to be run in parallel once again. And out of those, the top 5 drivers from each of those heats will go into the final, and then we'll have the final of the top 10 cars to finish off the evening.
Yeah, so good to see the organisers have managed to still make a relatively full night of racing, even though there's so few people that have come to race tonight. Like you said, other commitments seem to have just gotten in the way, but that's all right. We've still got a few of our regulars, Bo Albert, Kyle Stevens, Lachlan Smith, to name a few, have all turned up to race tonight. So we'll see how they can try their luck at Rallycross and whether they can pick up a win or a podium tonight, Bernie.
Yeah, exactly right. And of course, last week, anyone that caught the coverage, it was pretty brutal out there, and that might have scared a few of our drivers off as well, because I'm not sure as a driver how enjoyable it would have been last week.
Yeah, well, certainly as a commentator it wasn't too enjoyable. After that first lap there wasn't much left to commentate on, Bernie. It was just a bit of a crash fest on that first lap, and we discussed it last week, being the Lucas Oil track. Perhaps the Joker lap isn't quite in the prime spot for the best first lap racing you'll ever see, but we're past that now. And we found that Daytona Short provided some awesome racing when we were here last, with some great battling between some of our heavy hitters. So hopefully tonight will be no different, and we see most of our drivers make it to the end, and no big rollovers or 5-car crashes or anything like that.
Yeah, that's right. And tonight we have 7 drivers in this room, and at the moment Bo Albert's the fastest with a 34.231. Darren McKenzie sitting in 2nd. Brett Gerards, did I get that right, in 3rd. Lachlan Smith 4th. 5th, Kyle Stevens, and then Zach Phelan and George Fullerton. George hasn't done a lap yet though.
Yes, I think all the guys are just getting out there now for their last little hit out before the race. We've got about, I think, 20 seconds left in the session before we go racing. And just to clarify for the viewers, this race will be 10 laps and 2 Joker laps as per usual of what we've seen in this series. So again, with those two Joker laps, just shaking things up a little bit. And we saw when the drivers came to Daytona long and short that the Joker lap here gives you about 2 to 3 seconds in terms of pace on that lap, so you can really use it to your advantage if you're right up behind someone to sort of skip the hard part of actually overtaking them and just get ahead and try and win the race, Bernie. Yeah,
exactly right. This provides a decent advantage if you play the Joker. And let's go through the grid though. The grid's been preset, folks, in their qualifying, but let's have a look at it anyway. So Bo Albert, he'll start from pole. He's joined with Kyle Stevens and Darren McKenzie on the front row. Brett Gerards is on the 2nd row. 4th, 5th is Zach Phelan. Lachlan Smith out of 6th. 7th is George Fullerton, and we're racing. Well, we will be in a moment.
Yeah, they're all revving the engines. They're ready to get going. I think, yeah, here we go. Green flag. They're all breaking away from the line here. Relatively keen coming out of there, which is good. A lot of space to sort of move around and get everything sorted. Bo Albert around the outside there. He might make it work, but it looks like the Doritos car of Brett Gerards has managed to take 2nd place from him there. So they'll all hopefully get into a nice single line there. Yep, no big crashes yet. So they take that jump, which always shocks me a bit, the height that they get there. But they're all through cleanly for the time being. And this is what we like to see, some clean racing, Bernie.
Yeah, definitely. And Lachlan Smith, he got an awesome start. He's leading them at the moment, riding with Bo Albert now sitting in third, and he's trying to get Brett Gerards there now. Looks like Lachlan Smith, he's taken the joker. He's the first one, and that's going to extend his lead, but it also plays into the hands of the other two because they've got 2 jokers left, and he'll only have one up his sleeve. So he must be feeling confident here, Brock.
Yeah, so Smithy taking that joker might also get rid of some of the pressure on him from having that car behind. So he's obviously got a couple of seconds on the guys behind him now, and I'd say he'd use that, and knowing that somebody's not going to throw it down the inside, he can just focus on hitting his marks. We've seen Smith develop as a driver and get faster and faster in every race of this series, so this might be the night as he actually takes his second joker then. So he is very confident that taking those 2 jokers, he'll be able to keep ahead as Albert takes that as his first joker and jumps to Rards there as well to go up into second, Bernie.
Yeah, so if we have a look at this gap as it stands at the moment, folks, let's bring that up. At the moment, Lachlan Smith, 2.5 seconds is the gap, but that will deteriorate quickly as the others take their joker. Brett Gerards is in third, fourth, Darren McKenzie is 1 second behind them now. George Fullerton's out there running, and Zach Phelan. Looks like we've lost Kyle Stevens, a 444. He has not completed a lap.
Yeah, I think he dropped out before the race even started there, Bernie, so it looked like his internet gave way and he was out, so unfortunately no chance for him to come out and have a go for the win. But like you said, Smith is out to a nice lead at the moment, about 2.5 seconds ahead of Bo Albert, so we'll have to see exactly how that all pans out when Bo takes his second joker lap. I mean, we're already coming up to lap 5 of this race, so we're almost halfway through already. These races, Rallycross races, go by in the blink of an eye, Bernie.
Yeah, well, we know they'll get about 1.5 seconds on when they take that joker, and we can see now Brett Gerards, I think it is, no it's not, Darren McKenzie's taken his first joker here tonight. That brings him up into third, closes the gap slightly.
Yeah, so like we were saying, you do get quite an advantage. Not quite as much as Phoenix, but certainly more than Lucas Oil that we saw last week. That about 1.5 to 2 second advantage. So Mackenzie's used that to jump Gerards, and we'll see where he ends up in the end. Zachary Phelan's in the pit lane, so it looks like he's had an incident at some stage and is now out of this race, Bernie.
Yeah, so that's another retirement there. We'll go back after the race and see if we can work out what has happened to him there. But Lachlan Smith is now extended 1.6 seconds. In fact, he is in striking range now of Bo Albert when Bo plays that second joker. Darren McKenzie 3.8 seconds down, and then Brett Gerards in fourth. George Fullerton, he's the last one circulating, and he's down 7.1 seconds at the moment. So go through once more. Both front drivers, Bo Albert does not use it, but it looks like Darren McKenzie, or is that Brett? One of them's using the jokers. That's Brett has just used his, jumped ahead of Darren McKenzie, so he's up to third.
Yeah, so a nice little battle going on between McKenzie and Gerards here, as well as Smith. He's probably feeling a bit of the pressure now. Bo Albert has pulled that gap in a lot, and now it's down to 1.2 seconds. Give Albert another lap or two, and he's going to be well within the range to just jump past Smith in that joker. And Smith isn't going to be able to do anything about it without having any joker laps up his sleeve too. So that'll be interesting to watch, and we can see McKenzie has actually dropped off quite a bit. It looks like he's had a moment, and now Brett is going to stay in third place without any pressure coming from behind too there, Bernie.
Yeah, Darren looped it there into turn one. That's closed, allowed George Fullerton now to close right up on him. So they're still battling for the minor placings. Meanwhile, your top three is Lachlan Smith. 1.1 seconds is a gap. Bo Albert, when's he going to use that last joker? He's still closing. And then Brett Gerards is 3.3 seconds down at the moment. So that's your top three. George Fullerton, meantime, he has got past Darren McKenzie, moves up to fourth.
Yeah, so still a good bit of battling going on here. You're right about Albert. He's certainly waiting until the last moment. By live timing is showing he's now only he's under a second behind Smith. And I believe he does still have that second joker up his sleeve. So this could be an easy pass coming onto the final lap here if he chooses to use it. But he keeps going. So maybe we've missed something, or maybe he's just waiting for the very last opportunity to skip by him and grab that on the last lap.
Yeah, he's going to use it on the last lap for sure. And all he has to do at the moment is he knows he just has to stay within a second. He's going to come right out beside Lachlan here. There's going to be a drag race to the finish line. Remember, the finish line here is staggered. They have to go through turn 1 to get to the finish line.
Yeah, you're right about that, Bernie. We've had Darren McKenzie drop out too. He's left the race, and Bo Albert is taking his Joker lap now.
And so
it's going to be tight, but I think Albert's got it. And Brett's going to come out in third there behind Lachlan Smith. So Albert's grabbed that win in the end, and of course they have a little bit of smash at the end there. That's just rallycross fun in the end.
Yeah, exactly right. But that was a great race. Bo really showed strategy there. We've seen previously at this track when we had Emily leading, she played her jokers last because she was confident she could hold it. Tonight, Bo just kept that gap, played the joker, and Lachlan could not answer back.
No, Bo, I'm guessing once he saw he had that speed under him, he decided to just keep that joker up until he knew that he could take Lachlan there and go for that win. So he ended up winning by 7 tenths, which sort of gives you a bit of an idea. He was about 8 tenths to a second behind, so you have that about a second and a half to 2 second advantage coming through the joker lap there, which is very important to know when you're looking at your relative and seeing how far ahead the next guy is. See, is it really worth using that joker lap, or do you wait until the next lap? Of course, unless it's the last lap, then you're gonna have to use that lap.
Well, exactly right, and that's why I was saying earlier that Lachlan must have felt confident because basically if you play them early, like we said, you lose that advantage. You're giving that advantage of the jokers back to your opponents, and the only way you can answer that is to get a gap and maintain a gap, and to do that he would have had to maintain a gap of about 3 seconds to just take that win tonight, I would have predicted.
Yeah, so we've seen Smith has speed, and he was trying there, but Albert just had a bit more speed, and we saw it wasn't a drastic difference, but it was just enough to be able to pip him and get that win. So 7 tenths is not that much during a race like that, but Albert, he's shown speed in all the rounds he's participated in with us, and unfortunately had some bad luck in some where he's been taken out or been part of a crash that I don't think he's really caused any crashes himself. But he's back for vengeance now, and he's looking to grab that win this evening, I think.
Yeah, I'd say he'll have his head down. And, of course, this heat has no real ramifications, folks. This was a bonus heat just to fill the night out, basically get the guys' minds set for the racing coming up. But the next heats, top 5 out of each heat, they will go through to the final. We will be covering one of those heats, and we'll try and cover one with the drivers in it we haven't seen yet. But let's, while we're waiting for those servers to come up, let's have a look at the final race results here. So Bo Albert takes the win. He started out a third, and he won. Good driving there. Lachlan Smith comes home in second. Brett Gerards is in third. George Fullerton, he had a great run in the end. He moved up to fourth. He was down seventh for a while there. Darren McKenzie had a bit of a shocker, spinning on turn 1 twice. Kyle Stevens, he retired, and Zachary Phelan, I don't think he even took to the track.
I think he was out there, Bernie, for a few laps, but then I think he had an incident and basically parked it and then just straight up left the server. So it was very sudden, but it must have just been an incident there. But Kyle Stevens, I think that must have been. I think he had an incident on lap 1 or 2 and then just left. And Kyle Stevens, he managed to actually get back in the server and do a few laps to bring him. I think he did 5 laps or something in the end there. So just a quick look in the server, in the Discord server. Brett Gerards has posted the qualifying times, and I just thought this was a bit interesting coming into this event. We had 5 cars separated by about a tenth of a second, being Cam Taylor, Lachlan Smith, Dan Paglia, Brett Gerards, and Ryan Gorton were the top 5 in that qualifying, and they were about a tenth apart, which is immensely close, and I think could lead to some great racing come the final here. There's not much time to gain around the circuit, but there's certainly plenty of places you can lose by drifting out too fast. So that's awesome to see such a high level of competition at Daytona Short tonight, Bernie.
It really speaks volumes for what we can expect later on in this evening when the top 5 of each heat come together for that grand finale, and it's I'm very excited to look at that. But meanwhile, we're waiting for the servers to come up. Hopefully they won't be too much longer.
Yeah, so still no server yet, but as the series been going on, the guys have been getting faster at getting it up and getting us going again. So hopefully we'll see them in the next few minutes and we can get on to the next lot of racing and see how these guys are reacting. And of course, I believe it's the top 5 from each of these next heats goes through to the final, Bernie.
That's correct, exactly right. And looking at the week ahead, folks, well, we've got a bit of a lull in the action. This Friday night, we see the debut of the Porsche Carrera Cup Australia 2018 on RRTV. They will be starting at 8:15pm GMT plus 11. Then straight after them at 9:45pm, we'll have round 2 of the Australian Online Supercar Championship. So action-packed tonight coming your way with Carrera Cup and V8s supercars on Friday night. Then Sunday night we will be having round 9 of the Australasian Super Skips. That starts 8:40pm Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time or GMT plus 11.
Yeah, I think we've got a good week ahead of us there, Bernie. The V8's going to be at Spa this coming week, I believe, on Australia Day. So that's going to be fun. 150k race, 21 laps there. So it's going to be interesting. Especially, I can see the ink limit, the incident limit is 25, and around Spa, I think most road racers will know that around Spa, you don't like getting incidents, but you're going to get them anyway. So that'll be fun to see. And of course, we've got the Super Skips. Great car, lots of battling. They can get really, really into the draft, and basically you can keep 2 cars together with a magnet in between them for a whole race. So I think we have some serious action coming up, Bernie, and I'm keen to see how they go, as we've got the servers coming up now as well for the next lot of racing.
Okay, folks, so we're going to go to a very quick break. When we come back, we'll have the next heat of racing. Hi there folks, welcome back to RRTV's live telecast of the RRTV Rallycross Super Series. We're here to cover the next heat in our racing tonight, and we are looking at a different group of drivers here tonight for this one. So Cam Taylor, Richard Brookfield, we'll see Sean O'Hara out there having a run, Gavin Sattler, Ryan Gorton, Samuel Loyng and Dan Palia will all take to the track for this heat.
Yeah, so good to see. I think that's all different drivers to what we had in the last heat. So we'll get to see everybody's driving styles before they head into the final tonight, Bernie. And also get to see who our faster guys are, and check out some of our regulars in this set of heat as well.
Yeah, that's right. We're trying to bring the full grid here, but let's have a look at the starting grid here tonight. So Sean O'Hara, he will start from pole with Cam Taylor next to him. Starting on the front row in third will be Richard Brookfield. We've got Gavin Sattler out of fourth, Ryan Gorton fifth, Samuel Long sixth, and then seventh is Dan Palia.
Yeah, in for a good one here, Bernie, I reckon. I think we've got just about everybody has gridded up. Yep, so we should be, hopefully, we're still waiting on potentially Ryan Gorton. Yeah, he hasn't gridded up yet, so wait on that for him, but I'm sure these guys are eager and ready to go. They had their practice race before, and now it's time they've got to make it into that top five. So we'll be saying goodbye to the bottom two in this heat and the bottom two in the other heat that we aren't broadcasting at the moment. And here they go. The starters' orders have been given. We're just waiting on the green flag now. So the revs are rising, the cars, now they're going. The green flag is waved. Relatively clean out of there. Gentleman in the CRC car there, I think that was Gavin Sattler, got a beautiful start. Absolutely leapt off the line there. Cam Taylor's taken the lead. Going to go side by side. Gordon's going to give way to Palia there, and they're going to hopefully get into single file. Yeah, it looks like everybody's gotten through there fairly cleanly, Bernie, as Richard Brookfield had a bit of a moment, I think, in the back there.
Yeah, so your field at the moment is Cam Taylor is leading lap one, Dan Palia is in second, Ryan Gorton third, fourth Gavin Sattler at the moment. Then we have Sean O'Hara coming under pressure from Richard Brookfield, as Richard, he goes on the inside, and then Samuel Long, he brings up the tail of the field.
Yeah, so we've seen Cam has some mega pace in this series. He's always been up the front fighting. Last week wasn't his week. Unfortunately, got caught up in some of those sort of first turn incidents with the Joker lap and everything. But he's proving to us today that he is fast. And he deserves to be on the top step when it comes around to these finals. So he's going to be pushing hard. He's done well all series, and as you can see there, he's got his SSR paint on. As Dan Palia is actually taking a Joker lap now, and he's going to jump Taylor at the moment, but Taylor had a near 1 second lead on him before that, so that Joker will have minimum effect as they're going to go side by side over the jump. This is some gutsy racing here by Taylor, but he's just going to let Palia go by. Good to see nobody's caused an incident there, Bernie.
Yeah, it's good driving, and at the moment, since Dan used that, the advantage will go to Cam Taylor as far as strategy goes. Now, will Cam try and hang on the back of him here, or is he going to play that Joker? We're going to find out in a minute. No, he's not. He's happy just to sit behind him.
Yeah, so I think if he can sit behind him for as long as possible, that's probably going to be the way he wants to go. Save those Jokers and then just use them as a big gap, as we've got Sattler and Samuel Leon have both just taken a Joker lap there. Sattler jumped somebody in the Oreo car, Sean O'Hara by the looks of it, jumped Sean O'Hara. Brookfield, as per usual, he just sneaks up there, and he's doing quite well at the moment. He's sitting in fourth place, so he may well make it to the final, provided these next 6 laps go well for him. And up the front, we've still got, Cam Taylor's right on the back of Palia, but not making any bad moves, so to take one or both of them out. So just driving smart at the moment, saving those Joker laps, Bernie.
Yeah, and we see Gavin Sattler, Sean O'Hara, they don't use their Jokers and they go through again. So the drivers that have used Jokers, Dan Palia, we had Gavin Sattler used his Joker, and I think Samuel also used a Joker.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Bernie. So right now, Cam he's on my timing. It's telling me he's about half a second behind. So if and when he uses this Joker, he'll gain potentially about a second to a second and a half on Palia when he comes out of that corner. And we've got to keep in mind both of these drivers do have a second joker lap, but Cam Taylor has the advantage with having 2 under his belt. So we'll see what happens as he lands pretty hard coming off the jump there and had to do a bit of a save as his car was bouncing off the ground to make sure he didn't fly off and lose that second position, Bernie.
Yeah, well, out of the jokers, Dan's actually used 1. Cam's got 2 up his sleeve. But we've got to bear in mind also the gap while these guys are going. The gap back to Ryan Gorton's 2.3 seconds. He's got both jokers he can play, and that could potentially bring him into to play for the win here.
Yeah, you're very right there, Bernie, and if anything, at least second place. That's the beauty of the Joker lap in Rallycross, is that while in any other form of racing you're a few seconds behind, it might put you out of contention. When you have your Joker laps there to use, nothing's over until that lap 10 checkered flag rolls around. So I'll be interested to see here. Cam Taylor's actually using one of those Joker laps, so he dropped a little bit off the back of Palia there, so he's used that and has jumped him by about a second in the end. He's gained about a second coming out of there, and Gorton is now 4.4 seconds off the lead after Taylor's used that.
Yeah, and Brookfield also played his joker. That brought him onto the back of Gorton there. But this is the thing about this circuit, the joker, you're getting about 1.5 second advantage, roughly, when you play it on this circuit.
Yeah, and that's something that needs to be managed and used really well. Like, you can't just throw away a joker. Maybe Taylor felt he was being held up a bit behind Palia, so he decided to use that joker, but now what he's got up his sleeve is he's in front and they've both got a joker left. So if Palia takes his and tries to jump in front of Taylor, Taylor will just take his and jump in front of Palia. But it looks like, unless they use it this time round, they're going to have to use it, and Taylor will maintain the lead provided nothing goes wrong.
Yeah, and Brookfield used his second joker. That brought him right on the back of Gorton, but still not enough to make that move. So at the moment, we've got Cam Taylor leading, Dan Palia, the gap 4.2 seconds back to Gorton, who's now played his joker. That'll close him up. Richard Brookfield's out of jokers. He's in 4th. 5th is Gavin Sadler. And the drivers that look like won't be going through tonight is Samuel Long and Sean O'Hara. We'll have to find out what's happened to Sean, because he's down there in 7th position.
Yeah, well, there's obviously been an incident or two, because Gavin Sadler's about 16, and Gavin's actually just had a bit of an incident with one of the tyre barriers there. Always, every week, Bernie, the tyre barriers add a little bit of drama in there. So Sadler's about 16 to 17 seconds off the lead. And yeah, O'Hara is nearly 30 seconds off the lead in a 10-lap race. That generally means something's gone astray there.
Yeah, definitely. It was interesting, that last lap. I mistook how many jokers they had left, because all of the top 3 played their last joker and they all finished. But the gap from Taylor to Dan Palia was 0.666 seconds, which is the devil's number once again.
Yeah, that doesn't bode well for the next heat, the final coming up, Bernie. I really hope we have some good racing and the devil doesn't come in and put a little bit of his evil magic upon the server, mate.
Yeah, just having a look. If we can find out what happened to Sean here. In my telemetry, he's had no off-track, so I'm not sure what has happened.
I think one of his joker laps, he's got a 48.6 lap, and it looks like, okay, I see what's happened. The car, this is on lap 6, Bernie. The car before him that was Sadler, knocked the tyre barrier onto the track, and unfortunately O'Hara's just had nowhere to go and smacked right into that. And I think Samuel Leung as well behind O'Hara hit it as well on his way through. So just a bit unfortunate. We've always said the tyre barriers cause havoc in Rallycross, and well, tonight's no different, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we were talking about that, weren't we, about those tyre barriers and how they're such an obstacle. Really, I'm surprised at the size of them, how easily they fly.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting to watch. They do tend to get flung across the track, yeah, and unfortunately the problem with iRacing is sometimes netcode plays havoc, and then what you have is somebody doesn't actually touch the barrier, and yet it gets thrown on the track straight in front of a driver and can ruin their race, unfortunately.
Yeah, so looking at the full race results, folks, Cam Taylor, he takes a win. Dan Palia home in second position. Third, Ryan Gorton. Fourth, Richard Brookfield. The last driver to go through is Gavin Sadler. The two drivers that miss out is Samuel Lung and Sean O'Hara. As we saw in the background there, Sean collecting that tyre barrier.
Yeah, so that's the top 5 from that heat, and hopefully we'll have some results posted so we can see the top 5 from the other heat, and then we'll know our top 10 for the final tonight. I don't think, I'm just having a quick squiz to see if the server's up yet so we can get an idea, but I don't think it hasn't popped up yet. But it'll be interesting to see, and obviously Cam Taylor, Richard Brookfield and Gavin Sadler, they're some of our regulars, and Palia and Gorton have been with us too. So good to see that even on a night where we're sort of a bit low on drivers, that the regulars stick around and show us some good racing as we've seen tonight. And Richard Brookfield, got to give some special credit to him. Every week, just about, he's managed to make it into the final. And the weeks where we had enough people, he was in the last chance qualifier and got in there. So good on him. And yet again tonight, he's made it into the final to fight through for another good result.
Yeah, it's a great effort, and if we look at the strategy on how people are playing that joker, that's going to play a big part in the final. We've seen it tonight by Albert. He played a good strategy. Now we've got the results here of the other heat. So the first was Bo Albert, second Lachlan Smith, third Brett Gerards, fourth was George Fullerton, and fifth is Darren, what's his last name?
Mackenzie, I believe.
Mackenzie. So they're the 5 we're going to see go through. The driver that was eliminated was Zachary Phelan.
Okay, so it looks like we've got a pretty good final set up, Bernie, for this last race around Daytona Short tonight. And I'm keen for it. There's been some good racing in the couple of heats that we've seen, and not too much carnage, other than the occasional tyre barrier being thrown on the track, but that's nothing too bad. After last week, where there was certainly tempers were high and the red mist descended a little bit, it's good to see that there's some good fair racing going on, which is what it's all about here. And there are some fast guys who are going to be contending for the win, and I think those joker laps are really going to come into effect, Bernie.
Yeah, they certainly are. It's going to be interesting to see the strategy between Cam and Bo in this. And, of course, the way they do this grid is it's staggered. So we'll have Cam Taylor and Bo Albert. They will be on 1 and 2. Second will be Dan Palia. He'll be third. Fourth will be Lachlan Smith. And then we go further back, we'll have Ryan Gorton. He'll be lined up with Brett Gerards and Richard Brookfield. He's going to be lined up with George Fullerton. And then finally the last 2 in there, Gavin Sadler and Darren, will be the last 2. But, of course, it's 3 per grid, but that will be your grid makeup. First time tonight these boys will be racing against each other, so it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, and just as we've been looking through the grid then, the server has come up for the final, Bernie, so it looks like we're in for some action.
Okay, we're going to go to another quick break, folks. When we come back, we'll have the final. Hi there folks, welcome back to RRTV's live telecast of the RRTV Rallycross Super Series, round 5 here at Daytona Short. We're about to be calling the final four this evening, and of course Brock, next week is our final in this series, and it'll be the end of our Super Series or the summer series of Rallycross action here on RRTV, but I'm hopeful we'll have it come back again later on in the year.
Yeah, it's been a fast few weeks, Bernie, and it's been an exciting series with some great drivers turning up and giving us some awesome action. So I hope it does return, and potentially in a bigger way as well, without just being a summer series, potentially one that runs for a full iRacing season or something. In saying that, hopefully iRacing releases some new circuits as well that'll bolster up the calendar a little bit more and let the guys have a bit more free range with exactly what tracks are put in. But yeah, I'm keen to see the Rallycross guys back here on RRTV and giving us a bit more of the action that we've come to love.
Yeah, exactly right. And for the viewers out there, the Super Series, it was to be run over the break, basically, when everyone else is, including ourselves, having a break. We had some big contact. Haven't seen that before.
Jesus.
See that?
See you later, Bo Albert. Man, he's still rolling.
Let's go back and have a look at this. That was incredible. The other car ended up on its tailpipe here. I've not seen this before.
Yeah, I mean, we're not even in the race yet, so these boys, they're just testing out the way these cars can end up crashing, I reckon.
Yeah, check this out.
Yeah, wow, that was a bit of an angle for Cam Taylor there as well.
Yeah, I've not seen that happen before, but very spectacular way to start the practice session, and we had to go back and have a look at that. That's the first time I've seen anything like that. But
yeah, obviously the boys are trying to test the limits of what they can and can't do, so...
Yeah, well... that was rather interesting. I thought he was going to stand it on the rear bumper, which I think he almost did. But yeah, the idea behind the Super Series, folks, is to give us something over the summer break for all our viewers to enjoy, as well as to allow the administrators to try their hand at Rallycross and perfect a system, and of course for us to also have a crack at Rallycross and perfect our broadcasting systems, which I think, Brock, on all three levels, it's probably been quite a success.
Yeah, I think from the first round to now, we've really the guys at IRFF, Gavin Sadler, Brett Gareeds and Sean, they've done a really good job to work around any issues that have come up. Like tonight with having less drivers, they were in talking to us before the race even started, letting us know what the format was going to be. So congratulations to those guys. They've got the running of this series down pat and have worked with us really well over the last few weeks to make sure we can give all of you guys and girls out there, the viewers, the best experience possible, and also the drivers who are out on track using their time tonight to race and give us a show.
Yeah, and don't worry, folks, there'll still be dirt action because we'll be bringing you, in the next 3 weeks, we'll be commencing our Speedway. So that's something to look forward to. And also, we've got the NASCARs coming up, and they will be kicking off in a couple of weeks as well.
Yeah, that's going to be great to see. Sprint cars and NASCAR. I'll admit NASCAR's more my style of things, so I'll be there sitting down with a drink in hand and chips in the other and enjoying that series very much so. I'm no good at driving them, but I certainly love watching them, so it's good to see. There's going to be a real broad range of racing here on RRTV. As you said before, the Super Skips, the V8 Supercars, NASCARs, Sprint Car, and hopefully at some stage during the year return in the Rallycross series with a few more tracks and bringing in all the people that come and race again, and hopefully we'll see the likes of Cam Taylor, Bo Albert, Lachlan Smith, all of the regulars that we've seen come back again and race hard and fight for that win.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely be good, and I'll let the viewers know when that will be scheduled. And but at the moment we don't have anything scheduled for the Rallycross after this. But you never know. Give us another 3 months, and we might be looking at another series or something.
Yeah, so you never know what's around the corner, and yeah, I think whatever this year holds, it's going to be good for RRTV. AOSC is always a great series. We saw a great race on Friday. Lots of action going on then. and I'm sure we're just going to see the exact same thing coming up this week as well. Spa's a good track for drafting, and even in the big V8 beasts, you can manage a bit of draft as well. So that'll be fun to commentate, and also fun to watch and see how the guys manage that.
Yeah, definitely. We've got 46 seconds of practice just about up. Let's have a look at the standings to give you an idea of the pace as well, as it's extremely close between Bo Elbert and Cam Taylor. They're split by what? 0.02 of a second, and then 0.2 of a second behind them is Brett Gerards, and 0.2 behind him is Dan Palia, and 0.03 of a second behind Dan Palia is Lachlan Smith. So if we have a look at the top 8 who have set times, they're only separated by probably 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, these guys, they're playing for keeps tonight, and like I said during that qualifying session, you know, we had 5 cars within 0.1 of a second of each other, and we're seeing here that level of competition is certainly going to keep on going, and we've got Bo Albert and Cam Taylor, like you said, and Lachlan Smith has just improved a bit there to be within 0.2 of those guys as well. So it's going to be a good race, I think, so long as we keep clean. We've got lots of space to use at this track, and I think we're in for some good racing, Bernie.
Yeah, definitely. And while they're gridding up, let's take a look at that grid. So, got Brett Gerards and Gavin Sadler. They'll be starting out of, hopefully I got this right, first and second. Out of third, Bo Elbert. We've got Lachlan Smith fourth, Darren McKenzie fifth, Dan Palia, he'll start out of sixth position. Out of seventh is George Fullerton. Mustn't have this right. Cam Taylor eighth, ninth, Richard Brookfield and Ryan Gorton rounds out our top 10.
Yeah, my telemetry's still all updating, so I think it's just updating now as the time remaining's gone to 0. So the boys are all lined up and ready to rock and roll. Their revs are rising, the cars, they're wanting to leap off the mark here. Lights are yellow, waiting for the green, and it's gone green. Everyone's leapt away. It's a fairly equal start from the front guys, but number 9 there, he sort of had to drop back a bit. That was Palia, I think, and Cam Taylor's on the inside. They've hit Albert and Taylor, but it was just slight. Got Brett Gerards off in the background there. I don't think he hit the wall as they all come through. I think we're all back to single file now, hopefully, and yeah, everyone else has gotten through, I think, by the looks of it there, Bernie. It's just Brett Gerards, unfortunately, got spun around, so I think his car looks pretty okay. He'll just be popping over the jump and coming back into the race.
Yeah, so as we complete lap 1 here, folks, I've got Bo Elbert leading only just by Cam Taylor in second. Third is Lachlan Smith within striking distances, so is Dan Palia. Then we've got Richard Brookfield. Now we can see the first of the jokers being played here. That's Darren McKenzie. He played a joker, and it looks like George Fullerton. No, it wasn't George. Darren McKenzie played that joker. Darren and Ryan, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just watching this battle here between Taylor and Albert, and just at the last turn on lap 1 there, Taylor looked like he was about to absolutely send it on Albert, but he pulled out of it, so he's obviously trying to test Albert a little bit and was maybe trying to rustle his jimmies a little bit, as some would say, and push him out wide, but Albert's strong, he knows what he's doing, and he's going to keep pushing on in first there, but Smith is right up behind Taylor too, so this is going to be an interesting battle for the top 3 here, considering how close they were in qualifying and also in the practice that we saw. The rest of the field is relatively spread out, other than that top 3, Bernie.
Yeah, and all of the top 3, 4 have not played their jokers. I'd expect them to go fairly late, as we're riding in the bumper cam here with Cam Taylor. That gap, 0.7 of a second, not big enough to feel comfortable as yet. As they first 3 go through, they do not play their jokers. What about further back? What's Dan done? Looks like Dan has not. Richard Brookfield did play his first joker. That's got him ahead of Ryan Gorton.
Yeah, so none of these top 4, they're fighting hard. It looks like they might all want to pull an Emily Jones, but the problem is the strategy doesn't work if you all use it at the same time. So, yeah, I don't know. Cam Taylor can't seem to get right up onto the back of Albert like he was before. Albert's just got a little bit too much pace through the dirt part, but yeah, Taylor's made a bit of a mistake there at the last corner too. He's just drifted a little wide, so Albert is still going to stay ahead there by about 7 or 8 tenths. As we look back a little bit further to Smith, Smith's actually in the wall at the Joker, so he has gone in too hot there and has escorted himself all the way back down to 8th place, unfortunately, Bernie.
Yeah, he actually got rear-ended. I'm just trying to work out the other car that was involved in that. Actually got right up underneath him and served him big time. It was a workplace Ford Fiesta that got into the back of him there.
Oh, that's unfortunate to see. Yeah, I thought it was a bit weird. Usually the guys are pretty good through the Joker, so that's a bit unfortunate to see that he's been served like that. I think, yeah, we've got a bit of front end damage on Richard Brookfield and George Fullerton, but it's hard to tell without going back and looking at the replay. But Bo Albert's still out the front there. He's still managing about a 1.1 second gap back to Taylor. And Gordon and Palier are actually, they're fairly close at the moment. Those guys have about a half a second between them. So, in other words, not much between them. And Palier has absolutely gone deep into the last turn there and has made up a bit of time on Gordon. He did well to pull that one up. I thought he was going to drift out or even hit Gordon there, so he did well. But those guys stay attached at the moment, while Albert and Taylor still managing that gap. So, yeah, it's a bit tense at the moment. I don't think any of these guys have taken Jokers either.
No, they haven't. I better get to real time there. But yeah, that big gap was formed because Dan Palier got into the back of Lachlan Smith there. Ryan Gorton used a Joker, which allowed him, I think, to jump up there. But now Bo Albert's used the first of his Jokers to pull that gap out. He had a 2.4 second gap. He's starting to feel confident, and it's time to start using them with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, and Darren Palier used one then, so he's actually jumped Ryan Gorton as well. So I think he's only used the one at the moment, so we'll see when he uses his second one. Mind you, we've only got once Bo Alberts comes across the start-finish line, a couple of laps left. Cam Taylor's taking his first Joker lap here, keeping it nice and tight and coming out the other side. Albert will maintain that lead by about 1.2 seconds is what my live timing's telling me, so he's actually made a little bit of time there as well coming into these last couple of laps, Bernie.
Yeah, so they've both used their first Jokers. Advantage is to Albert. He can afford now to keep his Joker to the last lap if he chooses, and that will basically nullify anything Cam Taylor can do as far as Jokers go. Now what Cam can do, and he's doing it now, is play that Joker and try to jump him.
Yeah, it's going to be close, but Taylor looks like he will just get him. Now it's Albert's got to be smart here and just take it nice and easy. He knows he has that extra Joker up his sleeve, and he's just got to stay close, and he should have that gap. So Albert's looking pretty clean through here, although Taylor's put a tyre barrier in his way just to make life a little bit harder on this last lap. Palier and Gordon are still pretty close together. We have one car that went off in the background there too. I didn't see who that was though.
I'll have a look in a moment, but here goes Bo Albert. He's going to use that Joker. That'll give him the win here over Cam Taylor. Good strategy by both of these drivers. And Bo Albert, he takes the win over Cam Taylor. And then Dan Palier looks like he's coming home third. Fourth, Ryan Gorton, or was it Richard Brookfield? Because Richard might have used that Joker.
Yeah, Richard's showing in 8th on my timing, so it looks like he'd been lapped at some stage, potentially from damage. Yeah, so it looks like Gorton's gotten 4th, Darren McKenzie 5th, George Fullerton 6th, Lachlan Smith 7th after that incident where he got a bit of a hit from behind from Palier, and then we've got Brookfield 8th, Brett Gerard's 9th, and Gavin Sadler 10th.
Yeah, so quite an exciting final here on the RRTV Super Series and round 5, of course. But let's have a look at the final results so you can see where your favourite driver finished. Well, I've got here that Bo Albert has taken the win over Cam Taylor, and then Dan Palier was 3rd. 4th, Ryan Gorton. 5th is Darren McKenzie, followed by George Fullerton in 6th. 7th, Lachlan Smith. Richard Brookfield finished in 8th position. 9th was Brett Gerards, and Gavin Sadler, he finished in 10th, and he may have retired from this event. Yeah,
it looks like he did retire pretty early on. I think he was 10 laps down, so I'm fairly sure he started, but must have had a first lap incident that unfortunately took him out of the race pretty early on there. So But yeah, from what we saw there, that racing was a whole lot better than what we saw in week 1. Luckily, Bernie. So the Rallycross is back to the way it should be. Luckily.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I was going to say tonight has finished very, very quickly, but I must say the action tonight was far better than what we saw last week, and the racing was fast, furious, strategic, all that we would want out of a Rallycross event.
Yeah, you can say that again, and that's what we saw with Phoenix. Was a little bit of carnage, but no more than what you'd expect for Rallycross. Daytona short and long, we saw that good amount of strategy, bit of carnage, but again, it's Rallycross, you tend to have that, and also some really good racing. So it's really only Lucas Oil that's been a bit of a that ended up not going so well for drivers and commentators alike, but it's good to see that everything's back to the norm and the way it should be come this round, and I'm sure it'll be the same thing next round as well.
Yeah, we just saw George Fullerton there try an Evel Knievel, jumping diagonally over the jump, clearing the tyres and then rolling it about 20 times. So that was a good way to to end the night.
Yeah, I reckon. What a good way to give the team a bit of work to do in the workshop afterwards.
Yeah. I'm just letting one of the drivers know they want to come in for an interview. Discord channel. Sorry, folks, I'm just sending an invite here.
Okay. While you're doing that, I'm grabbing a few screenshots of the race. Thing I like to do on the side, get a few nice shots of these cars. They do look nice when they're all racing and battling hard. So.
Yeah, they certainly do. Well, and that's another thing a lot of people are enjoying is their art, getting screenshots, doing them up in Photoshop, and putting them out there for everyone to enjoy.
Yeah, it's great, and it's good to see that a lot of these guys have got liveries on there too with their sponsors, and really getting into it all. You can see in the photo I've got here, I've got Lachlan Smith with his Gavin Saddler Racing livery on, Cam Taylor with his SSR livery on, Synergy Sim Racing, sorry, and Bo Albert with his Evolution Racing Team livery on there. So, yeah, good to see that these guys have all gotten into the spirit of it, and yeah, I think it's great to see that so many people love creating their liveries.
Yeah, they certainly do. It's there's so much people can do in this e-sport and hobby to either get excitement or unleash your creativity. But folks, we're coming to the end of our broadcast tonight, but join us again Friday night if you can, 8:15 p.m. GMT plus 11. We have the debut of the Porsche Carrera Cup Australia 2018, round 1 from Spa. They're debuting on RRTV for the first time. Australian Online Supercar Championship, they're also at Spa, and they will commence at 9:45 p.m. Friday GMT plus 11 for the Spa 150. And then, of course, Sunday night, if you like your open wheeler action, come and join us for the Australasian Super Skips, round 9 at Zolder. That commences at 8:40 p.m. GMT plus 11 on Sunday night.
Yeah, as we were saying before, nice and action-packed for us on RRTV, Bernie, and lots of racing to watch no matter what you like. So this is for all the dirt buffs out there tonight. And then we've got everything else from your open wheel to your touring car racing coming up. So stay tuned and watch this space because it's only getting better this week.
Yeah, so thanks to everyone who tuned in tonight. We hope you found our broadcast very entertaining. From my point of view, I thought it was quite a good lot of racing going on there, and we really appreciate you coming along and spending your evening with us. But Brock, is there any final words you'd like to say before we say goodnight?
Yeah, just thanks to all the viewers for coming out. It's good to see you guys so into the Rallycross, and also to the 15 drivers that came out tonight and obviously gave us something to commentate on. You know, it's always fun coming out and commentating you guys. So thank you for coming out, and thanks to you, Bernie, for having me along for the ride to do some commentary with you.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, mate. I wouldn't do it with anyone else. But that sounded a bit weird, didn't it? But anyway, folks, thanks for joining us. Have a great work week. Hopefully you'll come back Friday night, but if not, have a great weekend, and Australia Day, of course, on Friday. God, I'm getting so mixed up. But until then, folks, we will find time to catch up again very, very soon. Good night.